Once or twice a year, Games Workshop hosts the biggest Warhammer painting competition in the world, known as Golden Demon. And as a huge Warhammer and miniature painting fan myself, it always ends up being one of my favourite times of year and one of my favourite events in the Warhammer calendar. The last Golden Demon was held about 6 months ago in America, and it was absolutely incredible. So I decided that I would do a little video going over some of the winners in each category, some of my favourite entries, and some entries which seem to go viral online despite not placing at all. And you all seem to really like my coverage of the event, so I am pleased to say we are doing it again. Yay. Last weekend, it was time for the second and final Golden Demon painting competition of the whole year, and this time it was held in Germany at the gaming convention Spiel Essen. And unfortunately, once again, I ended up being too busy to go in person and enter something myself, and I'm all bummed out about that, and I have FOMO again. So somebody in the comments section hype me up for next year, because I really want to go next year. But as usual, I've been following the event very closely online, so I am here once again to be your official, unofficial reporter for the entire event and show you all of the coolest, best, and most impressive entries, including the overall winners of the competition, and the ultimate winner of this year's final Golden Demon, who walked away with the coveted Slayer sword. Whoosh. Now, before we dive into this year's incredible Golden Demon entries, I want to share with you something that I've been working on, which I am personally very proud of myself, and that is the latest and biggest RASCAL Town friend, RH005. He is a big, chunky gnome druid, and this guy is just packed with so many incredible details like mushrooms, potions, flowers, leaves, cauldrons, and of course a borderline concerning amount of little foresty friends. But we didn't stop there, because now you can also take home our newest RASCAL Town scenery kit as well, which it seems has quickly become a huge fan favourite due to the inclusion of even more squirrels. We love squirrels. To go along with this exciting release of a new Rascal, we are also having a big autumn blowout in the Rogue Hobby shop. Yoo-hoo, big autumn blowout. The dice are back in stock, except for the Rainbow Warrior ones, because you all sold them out again in like a day, so a restock of those will be coming soon. And some of our most popular shirts are now on sale as well. So head on over to roguehobbies.com now to have a little look and maybe treat yourself, because you seem like a nice person and you deserve it. Anyway, back to the video. Loosh. Golden Demon is the biggest Warhammer-specific painting competition in the world, which sees the best miniature painters from across the globe gather together and submit their incredibly painted Warhammer miniatures for judgment to win bronze, silver, or gold Golden Demon trophies in various categories, and for a chance to be crowned the best in show and win the ultimate prize, the Slayer sword. So just like last time, I'm going to show you all of my personal favourite entries from the entire competition, and we're going to finish the video with the winner of the Slayer sword who won the entire event, so make sure you stick around for that. Also, these competitions are always such a hotbed for discussion around miniature painting, which is one of the reasons why I like them so much. So as the video is going along, let me know in the comments section which entry was your favourite and why, or if you think one should have been judged higher or maybe even lower. Just keep it really respectful, but yes, I'd love to know your opinions about the whole competition this year. But without further ado, let's get cracking and look at some of the entries from our first category, Warhammer 40k Single Miniature. The first miniature I really want to talk about is this bronze-winning Azrak the Destroyer, painted by Nicholas Rubens Mortensen, which is a name that I'm sure you'll recognise from my previous Golden Demon roundup. Well, he's back, and he has painted the most beautiful Azrak that I have ever seen in my life, and as usual, he makes you forget that these miniatures usually stand no larger larger than the average person's thumb. The amount of detail and minute weathering on all of the non-metallics are just incredible, and my favorite thing that pro painters seem to do when they pick up this model, which they tend to do quite often, is emphasize all the green glowies around the head inside of his suit, and Nicholas has absolutely nailed that element so perfectly here. I love this entry so much, and the whole thing is just a great homage to the original Mark Gibbons artwork that it's based on. And of course, how can we not talk about the gold winner for this category, which is also, I think, one of my favorite entries in the whole competition, which is this absolutely amazing Mozrogan Chompa made by Lucas Zava. I'm gonna admit that I might be a little bit biased here, because this is a miniature that I've always dreamed of painting even half as well as this, but Lucas has absolutely knocked it out the park here with this entry. Let me just draw your attention to how well executed the non-metallic elements are on these exhausts here. The reflected light on the cylinder shape shows an understanding of light physics, which I fear I will never be able to grasp, and the kind of jankily posed backdrop and framing element as well is so well executed, and it just suits this miniature perfectly and adds so much depth and character to the entire piece as well. Since the official images of this entry are a little bit zoomed out, I headed over to Lucas's other social medias to see if there was a more detailed picture of the orc's face, and I was not disappointed. This whole piece is truly 10 out of 10, and I highly recommend giving Lucas a follow because he has such a great expressive miniature painting style, which is super inspirational. Moving on to the ever popular Warhammer 40k unit category, the winner of bronze was Ewelina Nakvalska with another incredible Beastnaga orc entry, and you absolutely love to see it, and so do I. I love Beastnagas, especially when they're all painted this well too. The winner of silver in this category is this gorgeous scenic Eldari piece, which was made by Andy Wardle from the Cult of Paint. My favorite element here on this piece has to be those white helmets and those red capes. They are just so mind-bogglingly smooth, especially the capes. As someone who struggles to paint red, seeing such a rich red highlighted with an almost white color absolutely blows my mind. It's so well done here. The very deserving gold winner for the whole 40k unit category is this kind of heartbreaking and extremely moody diorama piece made by Erika Martillo. I think this entry is about as close as you can possibly get to capturing the themes of endless war and dirt and just the depressing nature of the deathcore of Krieg in general, and as well as the entire piece being perfectly painted in this dark, moody way, which makes it look like a dark cloud has descended over the battlefield. Erika's choice to display his unit in an almost diorama storytelling way is absolutely genius here. Burials are something we don't really think of often in Warhammer, especially on the battlefield, which makes the scene being depicted here even more interesting. There's a guardsman reading from a holy tome and another casting some of the assumed dead's trinkets into the pile. The rats scattered around are a great touch, and whilst I could talk about this entry all day, my favorite feature is this little glimmer of hope depicted by some doves flying through a picturesque break in the war and the clouds. It's no secret that me, amongst other people, think that Age of Sigmar has the best model range that Games Workshop has to offer, and the Age of Sigmar single miniature category absolutely showed this off, because every single winner I think is one of the best miniatures I've ever seen painted. Firstly, in bronze we have Magnus Nielsen's extraordinary Stormcast Eternal, which maybe demonstrates some of the best non-metallic metallics I have ever seen. I can barely comprehend how this was done so well and so accurately to look like actual metals. Like, look at the way the gold is being reflected back onto the silver here, and the shift in saturation on the downturned angles on some of the eagle's shoulder pad. It's truly outstanding, and this must have been such a difficult category to judge. Anthony Smith's silver winning Ogre Hunter feels similarly like a demonstration in how to perfectly execute skin tones and textures on a miniature. You can see that everything from the minuscule scales on the lizard wizard's head, the individual threads on the rope to the wrinkles on the fingers have been painted on in excruciating detail. However, I think it's safe to say that the winner of gold in this category definitely deserved their place at the top, because it was Albert Moretto Font who took the gold trophy home with this awe-inspiring orc shaman, and it doesn't even look real. I just can't get my head around how good this miniature is because everything is just painted so perfectly. The use of all these green tones, the application of texture, the softness of the blending, and the subtle use of underlighting, I think is what's making this miniature really stand out for me. And on top of that, he basically converted and partially sculpted this miniature from scratch as well. So that's a double impressive, well done Albert and everyone else in this category too. It was such an awesome category, maybe one of my favorites in the whole competition. Moving on to another group with an incredible range of miniatures, the Warhammer Underworlds Warband category, and I really like this group because I think a lot of people assume that if you want to enter Golden Demon and win big, you need these elaborate scenic diorama plinths, and this category proves that that is not true. Both the gold and silver winners in this category, painted by Baptiste Rechebe and Ladislav Meyer respectively, didn't have any fancy scenic display plinths at all. They were just perfectly painted and incredibly executed and displayed simply on a black plinth with their own bases, which I just love to see. And this kind of display is often a really great choice as well because it can sometimes help the judges focus on the parts of the paint jobs you want them to a little bit more efficiently. Even Raphael's bronze-winning Bone Splitter Orc entry doesn't have the most complicated base in the world. It's pretty simple, and the bold use of red just makes Raphael's bright saturated miniatures stand out a bit more and emphasizes all the right parts of the paint job itself. Now, last Golden Demon, I made the bold statement that often the Horus Heresy category doesn't really do it for me because it's usually quite a lot of tanks, and that isn't my favorite thing in the world. But this time, the winners all really caught my attention because they were all super inspirational character miniatures. Neil Hollis won gold in the category with this absolutely gloriously executed Horus, which he made using 100% real intelligence. The flawless non-metallics on the trim and all of its intricate details, the subtle glowies around Horus's face, and the perfectly painted marble effects are just 10 out of 10 and a real testament to the hard work and dedication it takes to become a pro at miniature painting, or any art form really. My personal favourite entry into this category, however, has to go once again to our buddy Mr. Mortensen. I think I just really love his painting style, and so do the judges too apparently, because this glorious Emperor's Children Praetor got silver in the category, and you can really see why, because this guy literally looks like he's made from liquid gold or something like that. I don't really know if that makes sense, but in my mind it does. Like, everything he paints is so liquidy smooth and is highlighted up to this brilliant shine, and I feel like he always picks the perfect miniatures to showcase his style on too, and Emperor's Children is a great choice for this extremely decadent paint style. Moving on swiftly to what is becoming one of my favourite categories in Golden Demon, and that is Necromunda. And similarly to Age of Sigmar, I find that the Necromunda miniature range is so good that this group never disappoints, and this Golden Demon was no exception. In bronze, we have this absolutely lovely scenic depiction of an unlikely friendship duo of an Ogren and a little Jokero cyber monkey, painted by Rodrigo Lucas Frias. The sepia-toned colour scheme really translates all over this entire miniature, including the lovely hand-painted backdrop, making the whole thing really atmospheric. I just love it so much. In second place is our buddy Hendarian, who definitely deserves his silver with this impeccably rendered and weathered squad of enforcers. I love the teal and orange colours used in this little diorama, and mixed with Hendarian's classic style of impossibly smooth and high contrast blends, which almost look 3D rendered, even on close inspection, you can really tell why the judges placed this entry so highly. But the first place winner in the Necromunda category is probably, again, one of my favourites in the entire competition because it's just so delightful, and yes, I do mean delightful. Let me show you why. The gold-winning entry, painted by John Durotti, depicts a rare moment of peace for a usually frantic and stim-addled Escher. Whilst roaming the Ashways, she appears to have stumbled upon some wild fear cats and, armed with a whip, maybe has the intention of taming them, though judging by this one's collar here, perhaps at least one of them already is. The details and storytelling in this entry go so hard, from the leopard patterning all over her vehicle, to the fact that she's all in purple with a purple bike, and she's eyeing up a purple fear cat, possibly because she thinks it'll suit her more and be the perfect pet. I love the inclusion of subtle storytelling in Golden Demon and getting the chance to see moments like this outside of intense combat, which perhaps we forget exist in the 40k setting. And speaking of things that we rarely get to see, let's have a look at this incredible gold-winning entry from the epic scale category. You may remember James Tarrow from the last Golden Demon, where he submitted this entry, which ended up being one of my absolute favourites in the entire show, and he is back with a vengeance with this tiny gold-winning piece. This minuscule diorama depicts the unusual vampire ship, the Bloody Reaver, which is an accumulated mass of wreckages and even an entire sea castle, which has been put together by a mad count in order to wreak havoc upon the oceans. And it's been beautifully painted, from the tiny waves, the eerie glow behind each port and cannon hole on the ship, and of course the incredible freehand on those tiny sails. What an awesome entry. I love this one so much. As we get closer towards the final few categories, one entry in the open category in particular really caught my attention, but probably not for the reason you'd expect, and it's causing a little bit of a stir in the Warhammer community. The runner-up in the open category, which is renowned for often hosting weird and wonderful hand-sculpted miniatures and other strange things which perhaps don't fit in anywhere else, was this single ultramarine miniature painted by Christian Clausen. No bells or whistles, no conversion that I can see, and no non-metallics or crazy scenic diorama to accompany him, just a really simple and well-painted Space Marine. A few years ago, a similar stir was caused when Gavin Garza not only won gold in his category, but won the entire Slayer sword for that year with just one skink. Were there bigger and flashier miniatures that year on display? Well, yes there were, but Gavin managed to execute what was considered to be a perfectly painted miniature, meaning that in the judges' eyes, this Space Marine must be as close as you can possibly get to a perfectly painted Space Marine, in the heavy metal style, of course. I really like it when entries like this come around and kind of shake up what people expect to be an award-winning miniature at Golden Demon, but I know some people are pretty polarized on this entry, so let me know where you stand on it in the comments section, but more importantly, a huge congratulations to Christian and his perfectly painted Space Marine. Whilst all the categories this year were obviously full of immense talent and some incredibly painted miniatures, I don't think that any individual category blew my mind quite as much as this one here, because what if I told you that all three of these winning entries were painted by kids? That's right, these are the winning entries from this competition's Youngblood category, made for painters who are 15 years old or younger. And this is either going to inspire the shit out of you or make you want to give up painting forever, because these kids are getting so good at painting. Like, I cannot wait to see what these kids' entries are going to be like if they keep painting for another 10 or even 5 years. This is absolutely incredible work here, and it is so cool to see the future of miniature painting being so good at their craft already. We're nearly at the end of our Golden Demon roundup, but before I show you what I think was the best category and the overall winner of the event, I want to briefly talk about another category, and that is all of the people who had fantastic miniatures but didn't place or even win a finalist pin. Every single year this happens, and I'm not a judge or even a good enough painter to really make calls like so-and-so should have won instead of X and things like that. And nor would I want to be a Golden Demon judge either, because that sounds like an honestly horrific job. And I think it should only be left to seasoned and trusted painting professionals who understand that this competition means a lot to a lot of people who work very hard to enter it just once or twice a year. But most importantly, I think for everyone who does travel from all over the world to enter Golden Demon, they all all deserve a good, fair, but most importantly consistent judging panel and judging system. All I want to do here is show you some of my favourite entries which didn't make the final cut in their category, so that perhaps you get the chance to see them for the first time and maybe also find your new favourite artist too. I love this Eldari art arc painted by the illustrious Richard Gray. The subtle blending and colouring on the armour and the free-handed spider on the back of the piece is just fantastic. I've seen online that this breathtaking piece by Andy Wardle was another fan favourite at the event, and you can totally see why. It's another one of those quiet little Warhammer moments depicted beautifully in miniature form, and everything from the texture of the deer's fur to the subtle little glows around the magical roots coming from the ground really make this a stunning and atmospheric entry. I love it. These two Blight King entries as well, made by Zumakito and CHK Miniatures respectively, are both some of my favourite things I've seen entered this year, and I think they are absolutely incredible, and I love how different they are and how they manage to be totally unique and representative of their artist's individual style despite using very similar miniatures. If I had all the time in the world, then I would make this video 5 hours long so I could tell you all about every single miniature that I loved at each Golden Demon, but unfortunately we don't have time for that, so let's get back to looking at the last 3 finalists and the winner of the Slayer Sword. Our final category is Diorama Duel, which in my opinion usually hosts some of the coolest entries in the entire competition, and buckle up because all 3 of the winners in this category are absolute miniature painting masterpieces. Bronze went to Rodrigo Lucas Frias and his incredible Triumph of St. Catherine diorama, which is just an amazing feat of painting, from the sheer abundance of perfectly painted non-metallic metallics to the object source lighting down to the scattered rose petals on the stairs, and if it wasn't for the other entries in this category, I would genuinely be shocked that this got anything other than first place. But wait till you see what got silver in this category, because oh my god, it is just beautiful. The colours, light, shadow and composition of this entry by Powell Makuch really push this miniature diorama into an epic Renaissance style piece of artwork. Having that light and blank area right in the middle of the diorama is such a bold choice, but it also somehow just draws the eye to the whole piece in such an impressive way. However, I think that every single person who has seen the winner of the Diorama and Duel category has expressed that it may be one of the coolest things that they have ever seen in a painting competition, and when you see it, I think you'll understand why. Just look at that water effect. It is absolutely crazy, and somehow Erika Martillo, the creator of this piece, has managed to pull off what appears to be the perfect resin pour. I mean, yes, obviously the paint job on the miniatures are stunning, and the posing and customization on the fight scene itself is amazing, but look how clear the water is. I can't get my head around how this was achieved. Like, you can perfectly see the paint job of the console and the Tyranid bits within it, and even the top where it's all wavy is still so clean and pristine, and it really elevates this whole miniature to the next level. It's just an incredible piece. Now it's time for the one you've all been waiting for. The overall winning miniature of Golden Demon and the Slayer Sword this year was David Perryman, aka the Infernal Brush, and his beautiful Trug miniature. Trug is such a great miniature, and as soon as he came out, I knew that he would be a Golden Demon pro painter's dream, and David has absolutely painted this miniature, I think, as well and as beautifully as it's physically possible to do. I barely even know where to start to show you just how perfectly this miniature is painted, but let's take a look at some more of the detail shots around his face for now. The rendering on the dark leathery skin is so well done, and the way it subtly blends into those pink tones at the bottom while still being dark is so impressive. And this attention to detail and extremely skilled use of light, colour and blending carries all over the entire miniature, including this little baby Trug here. He is also very perfect. But on top of that, we have yet another perfectly handled and executed resin pour water effect on the base, and I don't know what these guys are doing to make it so good, but I need to know because it's so clear and perfect, and the fishes are floating in there like they've always been in there, and the whole thing truly blows my mind. This is an incredible entry from David, and I really recommend following him over on his Instagram because he also makes a bunch of amazing tutorials, so maybe one day we can all paint as good as him. Maybe. And that is it for the final Golden Demon of 2024. And I really hope that seeing all these incredible miniatures and all of these painters at the top of their game has really inspired you to pick up your brush and continue your own painting journey at home. Because I know for me, as soon as this video ends, I'm about to go sign up to like 10 Patreons and start watching all of their tutorials so that maybe I can be in with a chance of winning something at next year's Golden Demon. But I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. As usual, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for being rogues. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye bye.